All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, as promised at the end of last one, we're talking about the Hair of Galadriel. This is actually a very uh, touching moment in the movies, and I I really love this scene. I kind of get a little bit worked up at this scene. I don't know. What about you?
As a kid, I thought it was kind of gushy, but
True.
as I like it now.
True, and learning a little bit about the backstory of it too, because when it's presented, obviously, you can't fit everything into those movies,
Hmm.
and so you only sort of get a surface level understanding of what's going on there, and it kind of doesn't even make any sense because you look at all the other gifts that are given out to the Fellowship, and Gimli just gets hair, and you're like, oh, that's kind of lame. Like that's even worse than what Sam got. Sam just got a box of dirt. Like, what the heck's going on here? Um, but I think it's when I see it now, and also understanding the complicated relationship between elves and dwarves, to see it now, I think it's quite a special moment. And I think it's actually an important moment for the lore of the entire Middle Earth. Um, so yeah, and also there's actually some good build up to this too. It's not just out of nowhere. So Gimli is really impressed by uh, Galadriel, and is is starting to recognize his own uh, biases early on when he first encounters her, and he starts to realize that these biases he's held about elves and stuff um, are not great to hold, and he starts to become better a better person, a better dwarf because of it, and so when he asks of this gift, and this gift is not something that is typically given, um,
Hmm.
and it's a shock to all the other elves that um, that she would even consider it. The fact that she uh, gives him three is also significant, because even just one would be for most people for most people it wouldn't even be considered, and it would be um, kind of discarded. But the fact that she's willing to part with three hairs and give it to him, and he becomes really enthralled by that, and in fact, um, in the books, they don't talk about this in the movies. I don't even think even in the extended parts, but in the books, um, when he is in Rohan and he's talking with those guys, they bring up that there's some strange witch in the woods, and Gimli gets really upset about that, and is like, no, I'm going to take you and show you that this is a great lady and that you owe her a lot of respect. And so he is like going around, like standing up for her honor, and making sure people realize that they don't know what they're talking about. There's all this sort of protectionism and stuff with all these different groups, and he's trying to tell people, like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You just have these beliefs from the past that are unfounded.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with just this one moment in the books, and in the movies. It's kind of just a nice homage to the books, but in the books, I think it's a really important moment for the lore of the entire Middle Earth, because it does show you that these different groups have been kind of closed off from each other for so long, and obviously the acting and stuff in the movies, because it, like, he's getting these hairs, and he's overwhelmed. It just makes it really special now watching the movies and knowing all of this sort of background info with it. But it's interesting that like the gifts don't all, you'd expect the gifts to all sort of become part of the journey, but they don't really. Like the hair kind of, it gives Gimli like a sense of of honor to kind of defend her honor and to defend the honor of elves in general, which is something that dwarves don't normally do. But like Sam getting the dirt, that doesn't really do too much. They do get some rope, but that's just like generic rope. It's elven rope, but it's like generic elven rope, which is kind of fun. Like Sam's really intrigued by the rope. But that's not even his gift. He gets the dirt, which is also kind of neat for him, but not really, doesn't really play a role in the journey. But yeah, I think it's a really powerful scene, and seeing it now, like you said, when you first see it and when you don't know what's going on when you're maybe a little kid, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But
can you cut metal with that strand of hair, or what?
what's the deal? Like, are they gonna get married or something? Like, it doesn't really make any sense without the explanation. But yeah, like in the books, the fact that Gimli starts to become this staunch defender of elves and Galadriel is pretty neat to see, because we do see that they do a good job in the movies of showing the growth of both Gimli and Legolas.
Yeah, them growing close.
And I think that's like, that also happens in the books, and I think that was the right route to take. To have Gimli also running around saying elves are the greatest and all this stuff would be kind of weird, but because you just don't have enough scenes to build upon what he's actually talking about. But to show Gimli and Legolas their growth with each other, I think that's one of the better parts of the movies when you look at it big picture, kind of, at least to me.
I agree.
Yeah, just to see that friendship. I mean, it's the same thing with Sam and Frodo's friendship too. Sam starts out as like just sort of carrying some stuff for Frodo and not really like sure of himself or where they're going or what's going on, and by the end he's actually kind of taking charge and making the decisions that ultimately lead to the end of the ring, which is a really big moment for anyone, and the fact that it is Sam is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that with other characters too. Aragorn and Boromir. They don't start out as enemies, but there's clearly that moment. And maybe I can find it and edit it in here. But there's that moment where they're at the council, and Boromir is like, "What would some ranger of the north know about this?" And then Legolas jumps up, and he's like, "That is no mere ranger." And that is Aragorn, and then Boromir gets this look in his eyes, like, oh, this guy is the actual heir. It means I'm not gonna take over from my father, kind of thing. And so it starts out with this sort of animosity, and then by the end of it, a scene that I always tear up at is Boromir's death and having Aragorn come over and kiss his forehead and promise him he's not gonna let Minas Tirith fall, and then he takes his armbands and wears them as a show of respect. So all these characters growing and becoming closer to each other, I think, is a huge part of the books and everything. And I think this moment in the books and movies is just showing that it's not just the characters individually; it's the entire realm is becoming closer. And so, yeah, it's an important part, but it's unfortunately in the movies, because they can't fit everything in, it's sort of just an homage to it. They don't really build upon it at all. So I do wonder if it's needed in the movies. I mean, I like it. I think it fits.
I mean, it's only in the extended that they give the hair.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just kind of a gesture to the book readers.
Yeah, and I think that's why they initially took it. I mean, now everybody watches the extended, so now it's like it's just part of it. But yeah, I think that's sort of why they chose to cut that, is because they're like, this doesn't really build into anything. We already have the Gimli Legolas stuff. um, happening. So yeah, and I've got up on the screen the little bit from Tolkien Gateway so that you can kind of read a little bit more about it. But I like it more of a symbol of these two cultures coming together, and this sort of marking the change that is going to happen, because what was once everyone sort of being very separate and isolated, that that just by simply meeting each other and learning about each other, you realize that there doesn't need to be any animosity between these groups. That you know we all want the same thing at least at this point in the world, and that is to destroy the ring. Um, well, some people don't want that, but most groups want that. Anything else to cover on this one?
No.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any, tidbits of your own about the Hair of Galadriel that you'd like to mention, throw them in the comments, and we are happy to read them out next time and do a little deeper dive if there's something very specific. But yeah, until next time.
See ya.